Welcome, welcome. I am back. I am not in full force, but I'm doing a lot better than I have been over the last few days. Seems like a lot of people I know have been sick lately. Guess it's that time of the year, as they say. But oh boy, has it been brutal. Has not been good. Um, but I couldn't resist today. I'm looking at the markets and I'm seeing some pretty interesting moves taking place. Look at gold just creeping on back up there, getting closer and closer to our CFTC projection target. If you would remember, we did a couple sessions ago where we were taking a look at gold and we projected where price could go based on the CFTC data. And I found that to be an incredible um, tool to accurately forecast where price is going. So we see price getting really close to that now, and we'll see how that relates to what is taking place in silver, because silver is making some moves too. And so we'll be taking a look at all of those markets, and maybe if we have a little bit of time, we'll look at Bitcoin and see what's going on. All right, so let's begin, shall we? Let's shrink me down, shrink me down, shrink me down, like that. Good. All right. Well, here we go. Here's the chart of gold. And if you could see on the daily time frame, this is the time frame that we've been watching. Okay, we have our target just a little bit above current price right now at 29.69. Price is creeping back up. You could see that institutional demand came into play, okay? Right back here at 28.66. So we still have institutional buying that is taking place here, but we believe it's not going to last that much longer, okay? Because again, when we're looking at the CFTC data, we can see that the banks were reaching or are starting to approach near maximum size on their long positions. And typically what happens when they reach maximum size is they'll take profits on it, which will cause a move to the downside. All right. So we got the data that came out just recently, and this is what it looks like. Instead of actually dropping, they instead of increasing their positions, they actually dropped 356 to 343, which was quite interesting to me. And this took place February 11. So when we look at February 11, we can see that there is a strong rally and then a drop. So putting things into context, it's quite understandable why that was the case. All right, February 11th was after a significant drop, so they likely added positions. Okay, let me just show you something here. They were definitely adding positions up throughout here. Okay, it's just we don't see that because after that they closed them off through the drop. Right? But as you can see, price is making its way back up there, likely them adding back those long positions that they closed off. Because after they closed off those positions, which caused the move to the downside, look where they came into. They came into an institutional buying zone, which had them buying again, all right? So, like I've said before, I would not be buying gold for a longer term hold at this point. It's way too high and they're reaching their maximum size. You don't want to be buying the long positions that they are offloading to you. Okay, you don't want to do that. So better to wait until they spill over price, create some kind of a foundation, and then when they start purchasing again long positions, then we will be interested in getting in long. Okay. Um, Hello, Mr. Kevin and everyone. Grand morning, Kevin. Glad to see you're feeling better. Yeah, a little bit better. Not too bad. A lot better than I have been, I'll tell you that much. All right, so let's go over to silver. So silver has been one that we've been watching. You remember what happened just recently when price entered into that daily area of supply right here, it came right back down, right? It held and pushed price straight back down, holding that area of supply. Well, now we have price breaking through it. Okay, let's zoom in. Let's zoom in. Okay, we have price action right now breaking through this area of supply. So this is obviously opening up the chart for a move higher. Only thing is that the fact that the gold is about to reach maximum size and they're going to take profits, you know, it's not the best time to be getting in here, okay? Because if gold starts to dump, what do you think is going to happen here? Okay, all we have to do is take a look at our indicators and correlation, right? And we put gold up here. What's the one I use? Oops. Oh, and we could use that one. Sure, no problem. Okay. Okay, this shows you the correlation between gold and silver. Anything above the line is positive. Anything below is negative. So it's majorly positively correlated with silver. As you can see, gold and silver, they move the same. So what do you think is going to happen if gold starts to decline? Okay, it's going to do the same thing. Oops. So even though this is good and it's opening up the doorway to the upside, I'm not interested in going in long. If gold had taken profits on longs, retraced, and positions came to a nice area where they could start accumulating again, and it started to accumulate, and then this happened, yes, I'd be interested in going long silver, but we're not at that spot. Okay, this is why I tell people all the time, context. You have to understand context. If you don't understand where the overall market is, how can you trade it? I mean, if you were just trading technicals, if you knew supply and demand, if you knew how to locate the institutional buying and selling areas, and that's all you were doing was that type of analysis, you know, you'd be getting a false signal to go in long right now because of this, you know, chart breaking through the supply area. But it wouldn't be a good idea to do that. Um, and that's knowing supply and demand, which is already giving you a major uh, step forward in your analysis. Okay, you already have insight that the vast majority of traders out there do not have. You know, so but looking at CFTC data, the supply and demand, putting it all together, seeing what the storyline is that's happening in price, and understanding where we are. Uh, that's why it's so pivotal because you know you watch these sessions, you see what I have to say, and then just sit back and watch and see what happens. Okay, the doorways being broken through to the upside, but watch what happens with gold, and then watch what's going to happen with silver after that. Okay, uh, the dollar. So we've seen some weakness. I mentioned before that we had some supply being contacted here on the daily time frame. We fell short of hitting supply here on the weekly time frame, and we're falling short of hitting supply here on the monthly time frame. So we had essentially some short-term selling taking place because of that daily area of supply. It hasn't gone much further. We could see that it's hit some demand here on the 4-hour time frame, and we're getting a push to the upside. Other than that, it's been stalling, and we really haven't gotten the momentum to the downside that one would expect when price is falling from supply. And I'm not too surprised by that because again, we're hitting a daily area of supply, and the daily represents short-term momentum. So if daily supply is being contacted, short-term momentum comes into play. The only time a daily area of supply, which represents short-term momentum, will turn into medium-term momentum is if that daily area of supply is being used to facilitate a move that's taking place on a larger time frame. And going back to the larger time frames here, there's no areas of supply being contacted, so therefore there is no larger move that it needs to facilitate. So it could drop further. It wouldn't be because of what's happening on the higher time frames on this chart, though. All right, so let's move along. And now we have the Aussie US dollar. And remember, we were talking about the Aussie hitting demand here, and what did I say about that? It was going to cause a push to the upside. Okay, remember I was saying, watch, demand is coming into play. We're likely going to get a push to the upside. Well, isn't that what's happening? All right, so do you see where price is hitting right now? Let me enlarge this so you can see. Okay, so do you see the supply that is coming into play right now, right? Now you understand why price is pausing. Now, what did I say? We have daily areas of supply. They represent short-term momentum, right? So there's going to be a short-term push to the downside. Now, that short-term push could last this long. It could last this long, or it could last this long, okay? It could last. There's three different options here. And the reason being is because, let me take you back to weekly demand. What does that tell us? Medium-term momentum. So medium-term momentum is something like that. So if you have medium-term momentum pushing upwards, and it comes into contact with short-term momentum pushing downwards, it's going to be like two forces, right? Wind blowing this way that's not so strong, and wind blowing this way that is stronger, okay? It's going to first react from one side to the other, but then when it comes into contact with that strong wind, it's going to reverse course and it's going to push, all right? So I think that's likely what's going to happen, that we're going to see a short-term move to the downside, and then the bigger gusts of wind are going to blow price to the upside with the eventual target of the monthly area of supply being contacted here, okay? Remember on the monthly, we have a monthly area of supply being contacted here, or being created here, monthly area of supply being created, and then look what's happening here. Look at that price action. Excuse me, that's quite bullish if you have bullish price action. So we look at the forces coming into play. This is why it's so important to understand supply and demand dynamics, because once you understand the supply and demand dynamics that are taking place, you can work out the path of price. Okay? There's always a path that price is taking. It's whether or not you could recognize it. All right? Most people do not recognize it. The vast majority of people do not recognize the path that price is playing. All they see is prices moving up and then it's moving down. They're drawing their Bollinger Bands and they're trying to make sense of why price is doing what it's doing. But when you understand supply and demand dynamics, you understand it's not moving down because it hit the upper portion of the Bollinger Band. It's moving down because it hit a supply zone. When it starts to drop and it starts to reverse back, it's not reversing to the mean of the Bollinger Band. It's dropping down, coming into contact with the higher time frame buying that's taking place from the weekly time frame. All right. So when you really understand the dynamics, trading becomes so much more understandable. The charts and its direction become so much more understandable, and it becomes clear what is taking place. So I point out these things to you so that you guys can learn. And then if you guys want to take your trading one step further and you want to start actually knowing how to do this, then you can come and join the school and learn how we actually do this and how we actually locate the zones and determine what forces are in play and how price is going to move. So I'm watching for a move up here. This is what I'm watching for, a move up here on the monthly time frame. And then when price gets up to this area of supply, I'm going to be watching for a move down from there, okay? Because this is what the supply and demand dynamics is suggesting is going to happen just by looking at the charts. So we'll see. Okay, I'll continue to monitor and see how things unfold. But that is so far how I see things. Okay, let's look at the euro. Euro's been quite of a mystery to a lot of people. And when a chart doesn't give you much, then you got to look at the chart that does, okay? We just looked at the Aussie US dollar, and it was pretty clear to us that the overall forces of price were pushing price to the upside, okay? In a direction like this, to come into contact with something above price that was eventually going to kick in and cause price to drop. Now, if you remember, a while ago, I drew these circles here on my chart because I said there's a very good chance that price is going to continue going higher on the chart and then reverse from one of these spots. I'm not sure which one because it's not very clear on the higher time frame charts where the reversal is going to take place from. I mean, the distance of where price is on the weekly time frame to the supply up here is quite large. I'm not quite sure that price is going to travel up that far up, but there is that chance. So we look at the Aussie chart and we see that it has a definite room for there to be a move to the upside. So I am using that as the template for how price is going to move on this chart. Okay, because remember, we're talking about the path of price. There's going to be a certain path that price is going to take, and we have to figure out what that path is. Because if you're going to make money in this market, you have to be able to determine what price is going to do, where it's going to go, where it's going to reverse, where it's going to turn from. I mean, that's just how it is. You could play the numbers game like everybody tells you should do, but if you want to lose 7 trades in a row to win one or two, so be it. If I traded with those odds, I would not be happy with my results. I just would not. If I take 5 trades, I want them all to be winners. Okay, period. That's what I'm going for. I want them all to be winners. But I have to be realistic. One, maybe two. If 2 trades out of 5 are losers, I'm not happy with my performance. If one is a loser, I'm not happy with the performance. I have to figure out why that one is a loser, because when you trade supply and demand, there's always a logic behind why price is doing what it's doing. It's just whether or not I can determine what that logic is. If I'm not able to determine what's about to happen, then that means the logic I'm applying to the chart is incorrect. So I have to tweak what I was thinking at the time before price moved to figure out what it was that I was missing so that next time I don't miss it. All right, so again, the important thing here is we are trying to determine how price is going to move throughout the chart. And some charts are clear and some charts are not. Like I said, Aussie is a lot clearer than the euro, so I will use the Aussie as a template for how the euro is going to move. Would I want to be in a trade in the euro right now? No, I wouldn't want to be in a trade on the euro right now. I was short, I closed my position, I took my profits, and I moved along. Okay, so I would not want to be short the euro right now. All right, so let's go to the pound. So pound, we were looking at the weekly time frame. You remember the weekly time frame? We had this area of supply, and I said it looks like a very juicy area of supply to take a position on. But because of what we were seeing on the charts, okay, we saw evidence to suggest that there was going to be a lot of pressure, buying pressure, coming into the markets. Now, even though this chart was suggesting that supply was going to hold because there was a beautiful area of selling there and price was likely going to drop from it, yeah, we originally had the move to the downside. Okay, initially we got that move to the downside, but because the evidence was suggesting buying was going to take place, not so much that this chart was suggesting it because there was no demand down here. It was the other charts that were suggesting it. So I used those charts as a template and I applied the logic. Why? Because the markets move together. That's the logic. Markets move together. So if one is going to have extreme buying taking place from its lows, then likely these markets are going to follow suit. And so that prevented me from taking a short trade there. And now look what's happening. That zone has been broken through. So if I would have taken a short based off that weekly area of supply, I would have lost. Okay, I would have lost money. So buying is taking place right now. It's real-time buying, meaning there aren't any demand zones being contacted down here to suggest beforehand that there was going to be buying. It's happening real time, all right? And so real-time buying is taking place, and we're seeing the push to the upside. All right, so how high can this go? Well, I think, we have to apply that template, like I was saying, that we were looking at from the Aussie US dollar. It can rally a little bit higher before a drop. Is there a supply a little bit higher? Yeah, there is supply right up here. Is this where price is going to go? It's possible. It's possible. And then once it gets here, expect a drop? Yeah, it's very likely. Okay. In fact, if you take a look, we have something very interesting here. We have institutional buying that we located here. So remember what I said. If there isn't a demand zone on the chart, then we can't predict that there's going to be a move once price goes into that area. Okay, if there isn't a demand zone. If there is a demand zone, then we can predict with a high degree of certainty how price is going to react based on the overall picture. Okay, now because we know significant buying is taking place from down below here on the pound, and now we located short-term buying on the daily time frame. All right, what that leads us to suspect is that if price were to drop down into here, we suspect that price would rally from here to there. Okay, so there's a high probability trade right there. Why? Because when we looked at the Aussie, what did we say? Right now we have short-term selling, but it's going to come into medium-term buying, and the two forces are going to collide, but the medium-term forces should surpass and be stronger than the short-term, and it should cause price to go even higher. So if price was to drop into this area of buying here, I think it would be decent odds for there to be a continued move to the upside. Okay, I might look for an additional signal down there just because of the whole dynamic of what's taking place, but I think it'd be decent odds for a long position from there. So I'll be watching to see if price does indeed get down to there. All right, Kiwi, not much going on, but again, we were talking about this buying area here, and that is what's causing the move to the upside, is this significant buying. Not much in terms of supply and demand, so I'm not really tracking this one too closely. US CAD, I like this one. We were talking about how the US CAD had some significant selling that was coming into play. We had a monthly supply, daily supply, weekly supply, and lo and behold, what do you see? Moves to the downside. What else do you see? Well, if you're observant, you'll notice that on the monthly time frame, what do we have? A demand area. Interesting. Didn't on the Aussie, didn't we have a supply just above price? Wasn't it that we were watching for a big strong move to the upside to contact this area of supply and then reversals from there? Yeah. Well, isn't it interesting how we have a similar situation here because the markets are correlated? This one is inversely correlated. And what do we see? Supply coming into play, shooting price to the downside right towards the demand zone. What do you think is likely going to happen when price gets into this demand zone? Very likely. Okay. So I'm going to be watching for trade signals to take place when price contacts that monthly area of demand. US Swiss, not much to go through here. There's no areas of demand and supply on the higher time frames that I would be looking to take trades off of. US dollar, Japanese yen. So we took a nice long trade from down here, closed it up here, and they say you can't time the markets. I mean, hello. Come on. Long there, exited right there at the top before price dropped. Why did price drop? Well, because supply came into play. Okay. On a daily time frame, which means short-term momentum to the downside. And so that is exactly what happened. Okay. And so what's happening with the US CAD? Coming down into demand soon. And then what's going to happen? Likely rally because demand, right? Well, take a look at the US dollar, Japanese yen. We already have demand in play. That's a significant demand zone, right? So it is in play and price is holding. I think that even if the US CAD were to drop, Even if the US Japanese yen were to follow suit and drop, I think the drop is going to be very short-lived. Okay. And then when the Aussie drops, pound drops, euro drops, US CAD rallies, US Swiss rallies, I think we're going to experience a move up like this. It's going to come up into this already tested area of supply. I think eventually that supply will break, and this will be a great spot to be watching for long signals. Okay. If you want that confirmation, if you don't want to get in down here, because getting into a long position down here could be risky. Could be risky. I mean, because take a look at the monthly time frame. The monthly time frame, to me, if I was just to look at the monthly time frame and take things out of context and not understand the whole supply and demand dynamic of the lower time frames and not understand the storyline of price from all the other charts, if I didn't look at any of that stuff and I just looked at the monthly time frame, I would say this is going to drop. I would say that because this looks like what people would call a triple top or a head and shoulders or whatever you want to call it. It's contacting significant supply, and these type of moves like this is usually what happens when supply is contacted, and we usually get a drop. So it's a little bit risky going long there. Okay, a little bit, not major, but there is some risk here. So to increase the odds of a trade, I'd be watching for signals once this area of supply breaks through, because that's the wall that would be holding price from moving higher. So I'll be watching for that, and I'll be giving those signals to members. All right, so as you see, a lot of things are setting up here in the Forex markets. Really, really interesting times, and some really nice trades are going to be setting up. Hope you guys are going to be ready for that. Okay, Bitcoin, what's going on? Well, we've talked about Bitcoin, how it is in a range. Remember, I said when price gets to the bottom of the range, it's likely going to rally. When price gets to the top of the range, it's likely going to drop. And so this is what's been happening. Okay, drop, drop, came down here, up, now it's coasting sideways. So what's going on? Well, we've already hit our target where we suspect the reversal is going to take place from. Very outstretched here on the monthly time frame. The odds are we get a drop, period. Okay, but if you want to increase your odds, you basically have to wait for this to get taken out. Daily demand needs to be removed for you to go short. Well, even if you go short, you got to find a really good entry. So maybe a break, a retest, and then drop. Something like that is something that would be decent odds. Okay. So I would be watching for something like that going forward. But I was also mentioning that, hey, if you want to get in early, and you put on risk, you short when price is up here. When price gets up there, you could short and prepare yourself for the drop. Your stop loss wouldn't be that far away from your entry. You could do that too. Okay. So there's many different ways to do this. All right. And that's it, folks. I'm glad I came on here to do this session with you. I feel rejuvenated. I feel energy coming back inside me. I'm feeling better. So that's it. Have a good one. Enjoy. Hope this was helpful. And if it was, share the video, hit the like button, do all that stuff that they tell you to do. And it would be appreciated. We're watching to see who is liking our videos, who's liking our posts and all that stuff, because we're going to pick a scholarship winner for March 2025. So if you want to win that free scholarship for March, which is coming up in 10 days or so, then hit the like, share, support our channels, and we'll be picking a winner. All right. That's it. Arrivederci. Have a good one. Thank you for joining again, and take care, everybody.